Before we begin, I invite you to leave in the comments where you're watching from and the exact time at which you're listening to this narration. We're interested to know in which places and at what times of day or night these documented accounts reach. This is Witchcraft. The jealous son screamed, kicking the life-saving herbs into the dust as his father lay dying on the parched ground. "You're fired! Get off our land!" The old farmhand's only crime was using ancient, forgotten knowledge to save a man's life. But what that ignorant and arrogant son didn't know was that his father's very survival now depended on the man he had just banished, and that the U.S. Army was desperately searching the globe for the secret behind that so-called witchcraft. Samuel Jones was a man who belonged to the earth, a silent figure who seemed to draw his strength directly from the soil. At 65, with hands as gnarled and tough as old tree roots and a face weathered into a permanent, kind squint by decades of sun and wind, he was a simple farmhand at the vast and prosperous Henderson Ranch. He was known to the other workers as Silent Sam, a man of few words who seemed to have a deeper, more profound connection with the sprawling acres of land and the plants that grew there than he did with people. He could predict the rain by the subtle shift in the smell of the air, and he knew the secret colloquial names of every wild herb that grew in the forgotten, untamed corners of the ranch. The other ranch hands, young, loud, and arrogant, often mocked him for his old-fashioned ways, for his habit of talking to the plants as he tended them, and for using strange-smelling folk remedies for his own aches and pains. To them he was a relic, a harmless eccentric from a bygone era, a living ghost. They had no idea that before he was a farmhand, he was Sergeant Samuel Jones, a senior medic with the Army's Green Berets, a man who had walked through the world's most dangerous and remote jungles. He had learned the secrets of indigenous plants and their powerful medicinal properties not from books, but directly from tribal shamans and healers. He was a walking, breathing encyclopedia of ethnobotany, a man whose forgotten knowledge was once the difference between life and death for his entire Special Forces unit. After the war, haunted by the friends he couldn't save, he had sought refuge in the quiet, healing embrace of the land. His incredible skills and his painful past, a secret he kept buried deep beneath a layer of humble silence. His boss, Mr. Henderson, was a good man, a tough but fair rancher who respected Sam's unparalleled work ethic and his almost supernatural connection to the land, even if he didn't understand the old man's strange, quiet ways. The real problem on the ranch was Henderson's son, Mark. Mark, a man in his 30s who had never lived up to his father's expectations, was poisoned by a potent cocktail of jealousy and insecurity. He saw Sam's quiet competence not as an asset to the ranch, but as a personal threat. He deeply resented the quiet, unspoken respect his father showed the old man, and he looked for any opportunity, no matter how small, to belittle and undermine him, to prove that Sam was nothing more than an uneducated old fool. One sweltering, unforgiving afternoon, that opportunity turned into a life-or-death crisis. As Mr. Henderson and Mark were clearing a patch of overgrown brush at the far edge of the property, a coiled western diamondback rattlesnake, perfectly camouflaged among the dry, sun-baked leaves, struck without warning. It bit Mr. Henderson square on the calf, a deep, venomous bite that left 2 angry puncture wounds. The old rancher collapsed, his face instantly turning a deathly pale with shock and searing pain. Mark panicked. He fumbled with his expensive smartphone, his hands shaking so violently he couldn't properly dial 911. The nearest hospital was over an hour away by bumpy dirt roads, and they both knew that without immediate, effective help, his father wouldn't make it. It was then that Sam, who had been working in a nearby field, appeared as if from nowhere. He didn't panic. He moved with the calm, swift, and almost terrifying efficiency of a combat medic assessing a battlefield wound. "Keep him still. Elevate the leg," he ordered Mark, his voice filled with an authority that Mark had never heard before, an authority that momentarily stunned him into obedience. Sam disappeared into the dense, thorny woods for less than a minute. When he returned, his hands were full of a specific broad-leafed plant with purple flowers and a handful of dark, gnarled roots. He knelt beside Mr. Henderson, quickly chewed the leaves and roots into a thick, dark green poultice, and applied it directly to the rapidly swelling snake bite. He then used his own leather belt as a tourniquet, but not in the way a civilian would. He applied it with a specific practiced pressure he had learned in the Amazon jungle, enough to slow the venom's spread through the lymphatic system without cutting off critical blood flow to the limb. And that's when the son, Mark, blinded by his own ignorance, his jealousy, and his panic, completely lost his mind. He saw not a life being saved, but some kind of primitive, unscientific, and repulsive ritual. He saw a chance to finally get rid of the old man he so deeply despised. "What are you doing?" he shrieked, his voice cracking. "Are you crazy? You'll kill him with your filthy weeds." He tried to push Sam away from his father. Sam, without taking his eyes off Henderson's graying face, simply said, "This will slow the venom. It will give him time. Now call the damn helicopter, son!" But you won't believe this. Instead of helping, Mark saw his opening. He viciously grabbed the remaining herbs from Sam's hand and threw them to the ground, stomping on them. "This is witchcraft," he screamed, his face contorted with a mixture of fear and triumph. "You're some kind of quack, a fraud. You're fired. Get off our land right now before I have you arrested for assault and for practicing medicine without a license." Sam looked at the dying man, then at the hateful, ignorant face of his son. He knew he couldn't do any more without a physical fight, which would only waste precious, life-saving time. With a look of profound sorrow and disappointment, he stood up and walked away, his heart heavy with the knowledge that he had just been banished from saving a good man's life. He hadn't seen the biggest surprise yet. The medevac helicopter arrived and airlifted Mr. Henderson to the regional hospital. In the emergency room, the doctors were grim. The venom was spreading rapidly. "The anti-venom isn't working as fast as it should," the lead doctor, a young, sharp-eyed woman, told a now panicked Mark. "It's as if something slowed the venom's initial progress significantly, but its effects are wearing off now, and the toxin is overwhelming his system. If we can't stop it, he'll go into catastrophic organ failure within the hour." The doctor then noticed a strange, dark green residue around the inflamed bite wound. "What is this?" she asked, taking a sample. Mark, ashamed and terrified, mumbled, It's just some weeds the crazy old farmhand put on it before I threw him out." The doctor took the sample for immediate analysis. Intrigued by the crazy old farmhand's intervention, miles away, at a high-tech U.S. Army medical research facility, Colonel Matthews was staring at a wall of failures. For 3 years, his elite team had been trying to develop a new universal anti-venom, a project of critical importance for special forces operating in remote, snake-infested regions. Their key to success was a rare, almost mythical plant known to indigenous tribes as serpent's bane, but no one in the modern world had been able to identify its active compound. At that moment, his computer beeped with a high-priority alert from a partner hospital's toxicology lab. A report had just flagged an unknown but incredibly potent enzyme that was actively neutralizing rattlesnake venom at a molecular level. The source, a crude plant poultice from a snakebite victim in rural Colorado. The colonel stared at the molecular structure on his screen, his heart pounding. It was the compound, the one they had been searching for, and it was at this exact moment that everything changed. The colonel didn't just send an email. He got on a helicopter. He arrived at the hospital and went straight to Henderson's room. He showed a printed image of the plant's molecular structure to Mark. "Where did this come from? I need to know right now." Mark, now terrified, confessed everything, how Sam had applied the poultice and how he had viciously thrown him off the ranch. The colonel's face was like stone. "The man you call a quack," he said, his voice dangerously low, "is Sergeant Samuel Jones, the most decorated combat medic of the Green Berets, and the Army's foremost expert on ethnobotanical medicine. We thought he had disappeared years ago. The weeds you threw on the ground are the key to a multi-million-dollar defense project that will save the lives of hundreds of soldiers. You didn't just fire a farmhand, you banished the one man on this continent who can save your father." Mark was shattered, his arrogance replaced by a crushing, overwhelming wave of guilt. The colonel and his team found Sam living in a small, remote cabin deep in the woods. He wasn't angry. He was just sad. He willingly provided the plant and the knowledge the Army needed. He also told them how to prepare a more potent version of the poultice using a specific root. They rushed it to the hospital. It worked. Mr. Henderson made a full, miraculous recovery. When he was well enough, his first act was to find Sam. He didn't just offer him his job back. He fired his own son from managing the ranch and made Sam his new partner, giving him a significant portion of the land to cultivate his life-saving plants exclusively for the Army's vital research. Sam, the quiet man of the earth, had been vindicated. His ancient knowledge, once mocked as witchcraft, was now a national asset, a silent green testament to the fact that the greatest secrets are often hidden in plain sight, waiting for a man of honor to reveal them. Kindness and merit are recorded even when they go unnoticed. To continue hearing stories that prove it, don't forget to follow the Merit Ledger and leave a comment about a time when a small act of kindness made a huge difference. Because every life is a record worth reading.